Welcome back to Two Horse Opinions. That stands for Women Having Open Redacted Educational Studies. I'm Phyllis.
And I'm Darla.
Strap in.
Or strap on.
Hello everybody, this is Darla here. I am currently outside in an alleyway next to a theater. I'm seeing my dear nephew Levi in a show. It's so exciting. However, I'm taking this time to address something that has come to my attention. It was brought to me by my nephew Levi and Phyllis's niece Bryn, as well as Phyllis herself. There were some certain events that occurred in the last episode that left me rather distraught, in a word. And being the professional that I am, I continued forward with recording the season, and I was a trooper. However, apparently I am not my usual delightful, bubbly fucking self, and I think that's just absolute bull. But whatever. I'm here to say I'm so sorry. I was just upset about the Phoebus situation, and I could have been livelier. I don't know. I think I was very mature for the situation. And do I have to read? Oh, Phyllis is making me read this. And Phyllis carried the episode. Are you happy? I hope you're happy, oh my God.
We're just two gals. Those of you who are first-time listeners.
We're two gals who like to gab.
Best friends since college.
And now we're doing this.
Kind of a history podcast. It's really just a podcast of us talking, but this season's all about history.
It is true. It is true. And speaking of history, can you believe it? It is the 5th year anniversary of that time that we took a tour in Europe and we went taste testing, except we did like those, we went like chocolate tasting because we were wondering what the big deal was with like those like chocolate savants. Mm-hmm. So we went chocolate tasting. However, it was a very specific chocolate tasting festival and all of the chocolates were infused with alcohol and we got wasted off our asses.
So wasted.
And we were in Paris one day and then the next day we woke up in Lindbergh.
And none of us know, we don't know how.
We don't know how.
That's so funny. Speaking of which, today's episode is on the history of tomatoes. And it's also the worst day probably of my entire life.
It's been a rough day, listeners.
For a little bit of context, tomatoes are Phyllis's worst thing. Yes, I did refer to myself in third person.
I was about to ask.
I knew you were going to say it. Because they're that bad, I need to emphasize it.
Okay.
Tomatoes are the worst thing in my entire life. They're my arch nemesis. I hope they die. I hope tomatoes never exist. And honestly, I'm really not excited about the expert you brought in today.
Well, don't let him hear that.
I won't let him hear. He's not here yet. He's coming in later. But God, he loves tomatoes, and I think he's a psychopath. Anyway, we were like, what's a funny little gag we could do at the beginning of the podcast on the history of tomatoes? So Phyllis, you too, Darla, we made the sacrifice to go buy a bunch of different tomatoes because there's so many different tomato species.
So many different varieties of tomatoes. And we wanted to taste them just to see how they differed from one another.
And to rank them.
Etc., etc.
They were so bad. I threw up. I cried.
It's true. We soldiered on, however. I also did not have a grand time. Not as bad of a time as Phyllis.
It was bad.
But I didn't have really a good time either. But we both soldiered on because we're brave. And cut to 20 minutes later, we found out that
our mic wasn't even connected.
It wasn't even plugged in.
So I ate all these stupid ass tomatoes.
For nothing.
For absolutely nothing. You guys don't even get to enjoy it. And I hope you're all happy just hearing the story about it. If you want a quick recap.
Because we're not repeating that.
They're in the garbage. We can't repeat it.
No, we cannot.
I refuse to go to the grocery store again with that stupid little asshole cashier.
What would they say to you?
He said, "Are you a boomer?"
No.
It made me cry.
Oh, do you know what would have made that worse is if we called you Karen.
But I wasn't being a Karen. Maybe that's what he did say behind my back, because I thought he said the word carrot, and I was like, what? I didn't buy any carrots.
Oh, Phyllis, I'm so sorry.
Oh my God.
What a devastating
This is the worst day of my entire life. Anyway, if you want a quick recap, if you're going to eat any tomatoes,
try the beefsteak one. It's the best
That's the only one that's good. The next one is Roma, but also, for those of you who buy Roma tomatoes, why the hell? Please answer down below.
And then after that, the cherry tomatoes we had were gross.
Disgusting, and they were squirters.
The squirters.
Squirted all over, made more of a mess than any of your exes have ever made in our apartments.
which is surprising.
That's saying a lot.
It is saying a lot.
And then the worst one was the vine-ripe tomato.
Oh, that was
If you grow
disgusting.
tomatoes, stop. Like, give up on your dreams.
You
They're
know,
never going to be good.
There are so many other worthwhile plants to have in your garden.
Yeah.
And I just don't think vine-ripe tomatoes are such a thing to have.
Nope. Unless you're just having them for decoration like people in the olden days did.
Which
So,
we'll be discussing.
that is a great segue
No,
onto
absolutely.
the history of tomatoes. So
You know, we have like this common misconception of that like tomatoes come from Italy because of course like Italian cuisine, all the tomato, the sauces, etc., etc., etc. However, tomatoes are not originally from Italy or even Europe. They are from South and Central America, specifically Peru.
Peru. Actually, today, many wild tomatoes can still be found near the Andes.
Really?
So if we ever wanted to go on a little vacation there, pick some tomatoes and be like, look how cute we are, take some pictures and then immediately smash them. I'd be
Throw
down.
them against the mountains.
Oh my gosh. We could bring them back. So the next time we see a bad Broadway show that we would do better at, we can throw them
We
on
can
stage.
throw the tomatoes. Wait, that's why people throw the tomatoes on stage. It's because everyone secretly hates tomatoes.
Everyone hates tomatoes. And this is the history of everyone hating tomatoes, to be completely honest. That's what this episode's about.
I mean, and it's like the 2 or 3 people throughout history, and it's ridiculous that 2 or 3 very prominent people in history
Loved tomatoes.
Loved tomatoes. My God, Phyllis, that took you like Phyllis was trying to put on a jacket for like the last 5 minutes, and it took.
I didn't want it to pick up on the mic.
Well, too bad. So I said I'm exposing you. That was the
Oh.
saddest thing I've ever witnessed in my life.
I was trying to be sneaky like a little ninja.
Phyllis,
What?
I adore you. You have never been sneaky. You never will be sneaky. And I think you need to give up on those dreams
Really?
of being sneaky.
You've always told me I'm quiet in bed when we feel like shared walls. Am I not?
I think it's best if we move on and talk about this later.
Okay. So,
Okay, so
fun fact about tomatoes, there's a lot of sources that said like back, and we're talking like 15th century and prior.
well, actually, I think you mean the 16th century and prior, because
Probably.
because when a lot of our sources come into direct contact with tomatoes, we're talking a lot about Western European
Yes.
sources, because
So prior to the 16th century, though, when they would just
Like, during
in
the
Central
1500s.
America, yeah, they believe that like native people of South and Central America viewed tomatoes as an aphrodisiac. For those of you who don't know what an aphrodisiac is,
Oh,
because
sorry.
if I wasn't friends with you, I don't think I would know what
That's
it is.
true.
It is any sort of like food or drink or drug that is believed to stimulate sexual desire.
it is true. It is true.
Which you know a lot about those.
I certainly do. And what's really interesting is that specifically it was from like the records that we have, a lot of people commonly agree that it was the tomato seeds that were like the real aphrodisiac of the tomato, which is very odd to me because have I been exposed to many an aphrodisiac? Yes, I have. Have I been exposed to miscellaneous unnatural aphrodisiacs?
yeah.
Yes, I have. However, the tomato seeds really throws me. I can't really, just personally, that is my own experience. If you listeners out there who enjoy tomato seeds and maybe that gives you a little stimulus, who knows where, I am happy for you.
But it's like that little nursery rhyme, like, one of these things is not like the other.
Is that a nursery rhyme?
I thought so.
I thought it was a parable.
Oh my god. Am I religious and I don't even know it?
You might be, Phyllis.
That's incredible.
But anyways, so at this time, like during the 1500s, the Aztecs were cultivating and domesticating the
Yes.
tomato plant, and then of course, colonization happened. Which, woo, what a crazy time.
I'm glad I didn't live then.
Yeah, and also how horrible. Let's just be real. It was
Yeah.
an awful time
Bad.
for the people in Central America. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for colonization. So anyways, so when the Spaniards and other European people brought tomatoes back to Europe from Central America, tomatoes were seen as sinful because of this reputation of being an aphrodisiac, etc., etc.
The French name for it was pomme d'amour. I don't know if that's the correct pronunciation.
I think it's close.
Thank you. I took a French class in high school.
How many?
Just one.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyway.
It really paid off.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That translates to the apple of love. However, a few experts are like, that could be a misunderstanding of the Spanish name.
Which is, pardon pronunciation, could be Pome de Moro, which means apple of the Moors.
Which is racist. So it's either the apple of love or the apple of racism. Either way, viewing is very sinful.
It's true. So, and Europeans were very hesitant to eat this plant because it greatly resembled nightshade, a deadly poisonous plant.
Which actually, it is in the nightshade family.
It is.
Which is interesting because, so in 1692, there was a botanist named Joseph Piton de Turnfort.
Wow, yeah, your French is so
Thank
good.
you! Anyway, he classified the tomatoes in the Solanaceae family, which is the nightshade family.
Okay, the fancy name for the nightshade family.
Where most plants from the nightshade family are poisonous.
Or hallucinogenic.
Or both.
Woo!
So the nightshade family is usually something you want to stay away from.
I mean, we briefly discussed them in our zombie episode.
Yes,
because
and that one they were very dangerous.
It's true.
You would severely drug people with them.
It's true. So they're a plant that you don't want to mess with.
Usually not. The same botanist, Turnfort, was like, I'm actually going to go back on my word. I'm going to give them a different classification called the Lypercosium Socicon. Lypercopersicon.
Yeah.
Meaning a wolf peach.
Oh.
I know.
I mean,
kind of crazy.
That is so fascinating. Well, and also, the reason why this was called the wolf peach is that it also had this reputation amongst witchcraft that wasn't very well worded. However, it's just that, the nightshade family, as we have discussed, has a lot of different side effects, etc., etc., etc. So a lot of times, witches would go looking for these nightshade plants because they felt that they would give them the power of flight or the ability to transform other people, specifically into werewolves. Hence the name wolf peach. And since the tomato is part of the nightshade family or resembles the nightshade family, it shared in the disgrace of the nightshade family in general, which is why people were very hesitant to eat it.
You know what? I understand that. Eating those tomatoes made me so angry. I feel like I could turn into a wolf right now. Just go attack someone. Rawr.
Whoa. Phyllis, I need you to calm down.
Okay, let me take a few deep breaths.
Okay, good job. Good job.
Anyway, so Turnfort, after putting them under the Solanaceae family and then the Lypercosicon, he was totally wrong. And there was a botanist, a very, very famous botanist, later in 1753. His name was Carl Linus. He rejected Turnfort's new classification of the wolf peach, and he went right back to the Solanaceae family because that was the correct one, and still to this day that is how we classify them. Also, a fun fact, so we've been talking about this nightshade family and how a lot of them are poisonous and hallucinogenic. There's actually a lot of other plants that we eat commonly nowadays under the Solanaceae family.
Good job. You're killing it.
Thank you. I'm getting so much better at this, including potatoes. I love potatoes so much better than tomatoes. Potatoes, chili peppers, and eggplants are all part of this family, and they're all edible plants. But one of the issues was the Europeans during the 16th century did not have potatoes or chili peppers. They only had eggplants, and eggplants weren't that big, so they didn't really associate anything except for the poisonous ones with the nightshade family.
Right.
And to further make tomatoes seem like poisonous, a fun fact for all of you, every part of the tomato plant is actually poisonous, except for the fruit.
Fascinating.
So don't go eating the plants.
Don't do it.
Honestly, would recommend not even eating the fruit, but don't go eating the plants, please. Unless you're trying to murder someone. Then who am I to tell you what to do?
Fair.
And another thing, so like in the 16th and the 17th century, pewter, a type of like metal, was like the chief component used in tableware across Europe.
It looked like silver. It was like cute.
Yeah, it looked like silver and it was cheaper.
It was way cheaper.
However, pewter contains really high levels of lead,
Which we all know is really bad.
which is really bad for you. And so when it mixed with the acidity in tomatoes, it brought out the lead in the pewter, and so people got really sick.
After eating tomatoes and sometimes died.
And sometimes died.
And so, of course, like, if I were to watch you cut up a little fruit on a plate that we've eaten on every day of our entire lives.
It's true.
Cut up a little fruit, eat it, and then get severely sick and die, I'd be like,
It's the tomato's fault.
why the fuck did you eat that fruit? That was bad.
Exactly.
Even though it wasn't, we all know it was the lead, not the tomatoes.
Not the tomatoes. So this just like further helped the caution against tomatoes. So
And doctors were like, please stop eating them.
Don't.
General public.
General public, this is
Please.
a PSA for your safety.
Please stop eating tomatoes, which is what I want to tell you guys. This is my general public announcement.
This is her
Please
begging on her knees.
stop eating tomatoes. I say we boycott all of them. They're really bad. Anyway, so at this point, tomatoes still hadn't come to the US, which is really interesting because they were like huge in Mexico, and they didn't come from Mexico to the US. They instead went from Mexico to Europe, and then from Europe to the US. So a huge roundabout way about getting tomatoes over to the US.
Yeah, very roundabout. Not effective at all.
It felt like Mexico was like, I don't want to talk to you, US.
Honestly, I don't blame them.
No, ditto. If I were Mexico, I would stop talking. I would go no contact with the US. Same with Canada. I'd be like, you guys are a little crazy
after
over
the
there.
things that the Americas, what the
crazy.
Americans did to Mexico, I wouldn't.
Honestly,
blame.
on behalf of all of our ancestors, we're
We're
sorry.
so sorry.
We're awful. And we know that.
We are self-aware.
Anyway,
Tomatoes were not eaten. They were not
No.
eaten, but they were used as decoration.
they were loved as decoration. So all of these fears about tomatoes being poisonous, about them being sinful, about them causing death, about them being in the nightshade family, about them only being pretty for decoration, all of these fears came over to the US when tomatoes came over to the US. And so, just like in Europe, everyone was like, yeah, no, you don't eat tomatoes. There was quite a few people who would still grow them in their gardens, almost how we like grow flowers, just to be like, look how cute.
And oh, what a lovely little splash of color.
Splash of red.
Oh,
I do like a little splash of red. I'll admit that.
I mean, there's not a ton of like red flowers that I
No.
can think of right off the top of my head, except
Oh,
for
roses.
Like, yeah, except for roses and maybe a few other, like some red peonies, but those are
Yeah.
like more like deep pink.
Yeah, they're not quite red.
Yeah.
Red. But tomatoes kind of are. Anyway, so this brings us forward to about the 1820s.
Which brings us to Colonel Robert Gibbon Johnson,
God, was this man
a tomato stand.
a tomato simp, I would even say.
Whoa.
He loved tomatoes. Me and him would not get along.
I don't think you would.
I don't think so at all. I literally wrote in our notes he was the biggest tomato stan in the whole world.
He was. So he lived in Salem, New Jersey in the early 1820s. And every year he used to hold competitions to see who could grow the biggest tomato. And he would offer prizes to the winners.
And I will say, I think everyone that attended these like competitions were like, yeah, look how big of a tomato I grew for decoration. None of them really knew that Colonel liked to eat tomatoes in his private time.
He was like a closet case with tomatoes.
He was a closeted tomato eater. He would eat them all the time. And then it started getting out, and everyone's like, Robert,
He's eating a poisonous plant.
Robert, you're a lunatic. And so we call this the Salem tomato trial. There wasn't actually a held trial.
It's more of the ardor and the difficulty of what he had to do in convincing the people's minds that it's called a trial, not an actual court case.
So he was so frustrated with having to live a life in the closet of being a tomato eater. He was so upset with having zero friends that understood him. So what did he do?
What did he do?
He got a basket, filled them with tomatoes, his favorite food in the world, went in front of the Salem courthouse.
And this was on September 25th, 1820.
And he gathered a crowd in front of the courthouse with this basket of tomato, and he went and started eating the whole basket, one tomato at a time. And the crowd grew bigger and bigger, and they were like, he's gonna die.
Like, they were expecting him to die on the spot.
They were expecting him to die on the
Like,
spot, or
foam
get
at the
really
mouth,
sick, or like
etc.
cough blood, all the things. Nothing happened. And everyone was kind of disappointed. They're like, wow, what a letdown.
No, it's true. However, though, this moment in time is often credited as how tomatoes gained popularity in dishes in the US after that.
Because everyone's like, oh, I guess they aren't actually
Poisonous.
That's interesting.
Oh.
I guess we could try them.
So I guess, like, I don't have to put them on my table spread and let them rot and then ruin my perfectly good tablecloth.
I could just eat them. Which, again, I don't know why you would. They're gross.
Right, but to each their own.
Another person who's credited. It wasn't just Robert Gibbon. What's his last name?
Johnson.
Robert Gibbon Johnson. Thomas Jefferson.
Founding father.
So, Thomas Jefferson, honestly, I think more admirable than anything he did for this country was the foods he brought over to this country.
That is a bold statement.
What, wasn't he like into slavery?
I mean, yes, he
wasn't
was.
great.
He was absolutely problematic, but he also did write our Constitution.
Oh, okay, whatever. But also,
did he write the Constitution? Wait, I just said that as if I knew.
Someone doing a history podcast. Maybe we should know some things.
Who wrote
the Constitution?
Oh, he wrote the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah, he wrote the Declaration. I guess that is a big deal.
That's
kind of a big deal.
I feel a little embarrassed.
You know what? Neither of us knew. You know what I do know about Thomas Jefferson, though?
What?
He popularized. I'm so sorry. I'm so excited. I can't speak. This happens sometimes. Thomas Jefferson. Thomas the Jefferson. The guy that wrote the Declaration of Independence. He popularized multiple foods in the US that we would not have nowadays. And these are foods that everyone loves.
Ice cream.
Ice cream, vanilla ice cream specifically.
Macaroni and cheese.
French fries.
And then tomatoes.
And then tomatoes. So Thomas Jefferson is kind of credited for also helping, like, with Robert to bring popularity to the tomatoes in the US, but specifically popularity to the upper class, because he started eating them and growing them from like 1809 to 1824. But before that, he had tried tomatoes and he's like, I like them. And he brought and served tomatoes to guests at the president's house in 1806. How crazy is that? It's like you bringing arsenic to, like, the president's house.
And saying, I know you think this is really bad for you, but
you guys, it's kind of yummy.
Try it. You've got to try it.
That's like what he did.
Isn't that basically what alcohol is? Someone was like, listen, I know this is poison, but it makes you feel so good.
It makes you feel kind of funny and free and... like,
so basically Thomas Jefferson was selling alcohol, but in tomato form. And also, it doesn't get you drunk.
Actually, what an icon. I'm so sorry I talked shit about Thomas Jefferson.
Yeah.
What a good guy.
Except he did have slaves.
He did have slaves and was racist and was highly problematic.
So,
yeah,
there's that.
You know what? That's just like what being a human being is like.
Is being problematic?
No, it's just having multiple different sides to you.
Oh.
Everyone has the good, everyone has the bad. Darla, you have a lot of bad, but a lot of good you bring to my life.
I think that's a rash judgment.
Tell me one good thing that you bring to the world. Not just me. To the world.
I did not bring you into this world.
Tell me one good thing you bring to the world, not that you bring to me.
Oh, that makes no sense, but I see what you're saying now. Okay, what is one good thing that I bring to this world?
Yeah. Versus all your bad. I got time.
Well, there's just so much to say. I'm just sifting through the best ones. I once smiled at a homeless man.
Oh, that's really sweet of you.
Yeah.
Has that only happened once?
I'd rather not say.
Okay. Anyway, that's just like the nature of human beings. You bring a lot of good, you bring a lot of bad.
Yeah, it's
So we can't fully say anyone's good or bad. Everyone is just a fucking human.
Right. But long story short, Thomas Jefferson did help introduce tomatoes into popular society in the U.S. And tomatoes really hit like the peak of their popularity, not the peak of their popularity, I should say,
But the
like,
start of their popularity.
yes, thank you. Especially when Campbell Soup made the condensed tomato soup in 1897.
You know what? Tomato soup is one of the most bearable types of tomatoes.
And with like a good grilled cheese.
Yep.
Ooh,
I don't love it, but it's better.
Oh my god. Okay, I forgot. I have to run to the courthouse just across the street really quickly.
We have taken a long time.
I will be right back.
Wait, but Darla, we have that guest coming.
Yeah, I'll be back.
Okay. I'm so sorry. It has been a mess of an episode. And she did tell me she had to be somewhere today, and the fact that we lost 20 minutes of recording, I don't think helped anything, so I'll just stop. Oh, hello.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello?
Are you are you here for the podcast?
Yes, I am here for the...
Come take a seat.
Oh, thank you.
What's your name?
Azorchka.
Azorchka?
Azorchka.
Azoitska?
Azorchka.
Azorchka. Nice to meet you. My name's Phyllis.
It's like the tomato. Azorchka tomatoes.
I've never heard of that type of tomato.
Oh, they are the best.
Yeah? What do they taste like? Are they like the beef steak?
They are a Russian beefsteak heirloom tomato.
The beef steak is my favorite type of tomato.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Is it? It is quite delicious.
Sure.
I'm here to talk about tomatoes.
Is there any way you can wait a little bit? My co-host just
I'm
left.
afraid I can't.
No?
No, I cannot.
Oh,
I cannot
shoot.
wait. So, because I am a very busy man.
Yeah.
I have a tomato testing in 10 minutes, so this will have to be very quick.
So you really like tomatoes?
I love tomatoes. I renamed myself Azoichka after the tomato.
What was your original name?
If
you
I
don't
told
mind
you
me
that,
asking?
I'd have to kill you.
Oh. Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
But I'm
Azoitska.
Azoichka.
Yeah, that's what I said.
I am here to talk about a Supreme Court case involving tomatoes.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was we were talking about the Salem tomato trial and
That is not legal trial.
Yeah, no,
No, that is not legal trial.
I know.
No, stop. Stop. I am here to discuss legal case about tomatoes.
Wow.
So, in 1893,
Yeah.
there was a Supreme Court case called Nix versus Hedden, and it actually began 6 years earlier in 1887.
Wow.
Yeah. So, what happened? In 1883, President Chester A. Arthur signed the Tariff Act of March 3rd, 1883. A little bit redundant, if you ask me. But this was a tariff that placed a tax on imported vegetables, but not fruit. Very, very important distinction.
Okay.
So,
Fruit was free.
yeah,
Everything else was not.
There was no tariff or import tax on fruit, but vegetables, yes. So there was this man. His name was John Nix, and he had a business called the John Nix and Co.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, very redundant name. None of these people were creative. He had 4 sons that worked under him, and he filed a suit against Edward L. Hedden. He was the collector of the port of New York, and he filed a lawsuit against him because all of his tomatoes were taxed. And he was and Mr. Nix was thinking, but these are fruit. These are not vegetables. These are fruit. I should not have to pay.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Or no, sorry.
Yeah. Anyways, this case, it went all the way up to the Supreme Court, the highest court in the entire land of the state of United America.
Holy shit.
And so they had this huge argument about the definitions of fruits versus vegetables. They went to Webster's Dictionary, Worcester's Dictionary, and the Imperial Dictionary. This was all just about grammar and about botany.
Definitions.
Exactly. So, in a strange turn of events, the court unanimously voted 9-0 that the tomato should be classified under the customs regulation as a vegetable based on the ways in which it is used. So, in writing the opinion of the court, Justice Horace Gray wrote, botanically speaking, tomatoes are the fruit of a vine, just as are cucumbers, squashes, beans, and peas. But in the common language of the people, whether sellers or consumers of provisions, all these are vegetables. End quote. Basically, the court's argument was that, yes, a tomato was a fruit. It was born off of a vine, but how it was used in cuisine was a vegetable.
Yeah.
Because the argument was that the fruits that we know as like, berries, strawberries, blackberries, grapes, that sort of thing, those are used in sweet dishes, in desserts.
Yeah.
Tomatoes are not.
Because they're not sweet.
No.
They're kind of rancid.
Yeah, they have like their own, well, I wouldn't say that. I love tomatoes. They're not rancid. They're delicious. They have this delicious sweetness that's also a little savory. It has a nice little undertone of that you know?
No.
Well, anyway, the argument was that tomatoes are not used in sweet dishes like other fruits. So therefore, they are vegetable. So that is why, legally in the U.S., tomatoes are a vegetable.
You hear that, listeners? If you want to be one of those annoying elementary school kids who are like, hey, fun fact for you, tomatoes are fruits, you can go, boom, boom. No, they're not. Legally.
According
to the Supreme Court. According to the Supreme Court, tomato is a vegetable, you motherfucker.
Indeed. And with that, I must go.
Okay.
I must go. I have
What's
stayed
your name again?
too long.
You remember?
Wow, that was something else. Oh my god.
I'm back.
Darla, where did you go?
Well, I told you, I went to the court. And you'll never believe what happened. So I had to pay this little ticket because I accidentally, well, it may have been slightly on purpose, but I accidentally drove my ex-husband's car, so I had to pay a little violation ticket for that. But while I was in line, I met this very attractive man who had accidentally, but maybe a little purposefully, committed tax fraud.
Oh.
And so he was doing a little paperwork there, and, we just hit it off, and guess what? I'm married again.
You just got married.
I just got married.
To a man you met like 20 minutes ago? Like 15?
I think Emily Bronte said it best.
Okay.
It was something along the lines of, whatever star his body is made of, my body fits that star.
What's his name?
I think it was Anthony.
Oh, that's a cute name. Mm-hmm. Congratulations. Happy wedding day.
Thank you. I'm especially excited for tonight.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you did just miss our expert.
Oh, I did?
That's okay. He sucked.
Oh, no. Why?
I don't know. He was Russian and a little scary and...
Was he? I couldn't tell where he was from when I was on the phone with him. He sounded a little... ambiguous in terms of his accent. I couldn't place him.
I think he was Russian.
And when I kept asking him where he was from, he kept evading the question.
So maybe he wasn't. But,
maybe. Well, because he said he had like a real name. He named himself after a tomato variety.
I don't remember.
Yeah, no, he did. And he said that he had he had renamed himself. When I asked him about his real name, he said he'd have to kill me if he told me.
He told me that too.
That now that I say all of this out loud, I wonder if he was a bit of a shady character. Where did you find him? I found him on an underground website.
Oh, yeah. Maybe let's stop finding experts there.
I could have done better.
We've had a few experts.
Yeah, I think we have.
Anyway, the last thing we have to talk about. there's your whole history of tomatoes.
It's not
Tomatoes
that
have been
crazy.
interesting. Oh, well, they're a little crazy.
Oh, well, I mean, this episode comparatively to episodes of
This
the
is a
past,
very calm episode. But who knew tomatoes brought so much drama with them?
It's true. That is true.
And another little piece of drama. Mm-hmm. So we talked about the Salem tomato trial
Yes.
with our colonel. Everyone loved him. Funny story.
Colonel Robert Gibbon Johnson.
Yes. It has been told time and time and time again. But actually, there wasn't a single fact documented about this Salem tomato trial until about 90 years after it happened.
Right.
So there's actually quite a few experts who believe that this story is exaggerated or untrue. Mm-hmm. It's the information we have. It's the information that was written down.
Right.
So we just wanted to put that at the end of the podcast to make sure you knew the full facts of this
of what we
be
know.
Completely fake.
Right. But then that also begs a very interesting question of if that actually didn't happen, then was it purely just Thomas Jefferson that popularized tomatoes, or what else happened that made the American public, the lower classes of America,
start liking tomatoes?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So then it begs that question of
It really does.
this is, because if it's a folk tale that someone made up 90 years later to explain, no one liked tomatoes 100 years ago, and now all of a sudden 90 years later we're eating them, and that was their way of explaining how it happened, kind of like a Paul Bunyan or John Appleseed sort of situation. It just makes you wonder how that came up. So
yeah, what I've been learning this season as we keep researching and recording about history facts is history is so unreliable.
it is.
We have no idea what's actually the truth, and we might have been just spewing BS at you for the past 4 episodes.
It's true. I mean, hopefully not,
Hopefully
since
not.
we've done our research.
Yeah.
But there's always chances that
Things have been mistold.
things have been mistold, or there are contradicting sources, or that things may be retroactively updated. Not in maybe a couple of years, maybe new info will come out that will retrospectively undo some of the research that was told, etc., etc. And history is never as simple as it seems. It's always very multifaceted. It involves numerous sides and people and points of view. It's never as simple as history textbooks make it out to be.
Nope, I wish. Anyway, that's our episode. It's kind of a shorter episode today.
This one is a simpler one. I mean, it would have been longer if we had been able to keep the taste.
Tomating.
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 I feel like that'd be a great festival name. We should give that to all you tomato lovers. Tomating.
Oh my god, little tomato lovers, a dating site.
Dating app. Yeah, it's like
dating-
tomating, but tomating.
I'm a genius.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
You have to credit us, though. Give us the royalties.
Yes.
I will not join the site.
No, but we demand 50%.
Our expert would love to be on that. He could find real love.
I really hope he finds it.
Ditto. I mean, I don't know anything about him except for he was a little intimidating. But I hope the best for everyone. That goes to you too, listeners. I hope you all find love and have a good time, like Darla did today.
Yeah, I hope you are all as happy as I am right now.
Yeah. Anyway, that's the end of our episode. Thank you so much for listening to Two Whores Opinions. I'm Phyllis.
I'm Darla.
Stay smart.
Or stay slutty.
We'll see you next time.
Oh, Phyllis, I'm so in love.
Wait, what was his name again?
Anthony.
Last name?
I have my marriage certificate somewhere around here. I'm sure I could find it.
Because actually, now that I'm thinking about it, there was a news thing I was seeing last night about this mass murderer named Anthony going around the courthouses.
A lot of people have names.
Yeah, no, probably not him.
Probably not him.
So,
God.
I hope not. I'm sorry. I was... Okay.
Thanks for ruining everything.